heritage of the UAE. Even though the UAE is a developed country, it is home to a rich culture that has been affected by the resources available to the people living in the region and by its environment. Also, the hot weather here did not stop our grandfathers from having lives full of adventures. Every day was a suffer. They had to get their own food and also work to get money for their families. Women did not work back then. Before discovering the oil, Emiratis had very limited resources and jobs to get their money from. Some were fishermen, others were diving to get pearls from the bottom of the sea, and that was before pearl was made in factories. Most of the traditions are still present in the time being. For example, men still wear their kandoras and women still wear their abayas. Almost all of the traditional food is being cooked in Emiratis' houses. Sports in the UAE, such as falconry, traditional boat racing, horse and camel racing, are actually tied to the culture and heritage of the UAE and are considered as traditional sports. Horses, camels, and boats were a major part of the natives' lives since they used them for transportation. Falconry was used to get food, and it was also a sport enjoyed by the rich people. The UAE is paying great attention to these traditional sports and many more in order to not lose or forget our rich heritage and culture.
Well, in our grandparents' generation, it was hard for a person to live in the UAE. It was a desert and not much resources that have been used like nowadays. It was a totally different life. People had difficult time because of their jobs, especially the men. They had to search in the seas and face the hardships and not knowing if they're coming back to their beloved ones. We are a country that are holding in our traditions. For example, the food like khabisa, tharid, hiris, and bunch of food that is related to rice and stuff like that. And for dancing part, men and women are separated and still share the traditional Khaliji dance. The clothes, for the clothes, also the men wear kandura and the qatra, and the women wear aba and shela. As I said, we are a country that are holding on to tradition and still practice it in daily life. In my point of view, the traditions are still the same, except that nowadays, some women just forget the fact of covering themselves and come with a style that is totally opposite what we expect from a Muslim woman. It's okay if you come with a style that is appropriate, but just some exaggerate and don't care anymore. I totally prefer the old tradition because it is what we belong to and stick to as long as we are Marathis, as simple as that.